like your work's going to continue to get better. And I will say, like, I have like a behind the scenes portfolio, which is helpful to name. So one of the advice tidbits I would give to folks is like, as you are working places or doing things, always save your work. Like anything you create, if you made it from start to finish, like put it in a file on your computer. Because I have like an unofficial portfolio of just work files of like handouts I've made for classes, or like posters I've made for recruiting students, or like a pamphlet I did for like Sexual Assault Awareness Week. Like all of that work lives somewhere on my laptop and I have access to it. And so like I think like that was something that I didn't think about when I first started jobs and then caught on to later. So I like kind of missed opportunities to like have
To
my work.
save it. Yeah.
Mhm. So I think that is something that is really important, is like you could call it a kudos folder, or you could call it like your portfolio, or like I call mine just like my work files. But one of the things I do is like I always, like when I make something that I'm like really like, yep, did a great job on that, I want to showcase this. Or a great example is I used to supervise orientation, and I used to make a lot of like handouts for orientation, like training guides for orientation leaders, presentations, like all of that stuff. I want to actually like have access to it in the future, because like
Hmm.
I might be in another job where I need that template, or it could be helpful
Yeah.
to not having to recreate the wheel. So I think when building a portfolio, there's like what I would call the external facing portfolio, which is everything that the public sees and that you want to show off. And then there's also your internal portfolio, which is like work that you might want to revisit or utilize again in the future, or that you want to like have options to choose from if you want to update your work on public sites. So that is something that I think I learned over time, and just like once I caught on to it, it was really easy to do. So now I have like a work portfolio, and I have a kudos folder. And my kudos folder is anytime I've gotten really positive feedback on something. So like emails from folks saying, hey, I really love this. This was great. Or like, just again, ways to show off like your talents and skills, because I think when we do great work and we're celebrated for it, that is also something we should take stock of. So having like an internal kudos photo folder can be helpful, because let's say you're prepping for an interview and you're going in and like they ask you to talk about like a really successful project. Let's say part of your prep for that interview is looking over your kudos folder and you saw an email from someone who said like, hey, you taking extra time on this was really helpful, and like you like remembered that like feedback you got. That's a great thing to talk about in your interview, because
I
you
love that.
like remembered that you like had that interaction. And so it kind of helps you like again just like pitch yourself in a really positive way, where you have good examples of like, actually I was looking back at, like, you could literally say my kudos folder, or like like an interaction I had with a client, and like one of the things that I really appreciated feedback wise was they said I was organized on this project and timely and thoughtful. And like now you're giving tangible examples that interviewers can pull on to.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and I think like for me, like when I interview for places, not it's been a while since I've interviewed for any place, but when they do ask those questions, like, hey, can you tell us a story of a time when this happened, or when you experienced this, or you worked through a problem
Yeah.
this way? I think that's a really helpful way to kind of remind yourself of those things.